The most important Syracuse basketball freshman next season is Sadiq White.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Of course, we are always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on this week's Poll Friday, I asked you all the question, who is Syracuse basketball's most important freshman for this upcoming season? Of course, Syracuse has 4 players in its 2025 recruiting class. They are power forward Sadiq White. You got a wing player in Kiyan Anthony. You got a guard in Luke Fennell and another wing player in Aaron Womack. Sadiq White and Kiyan Anthony are both fringe top 30 recruits. In fact, on a couple of recruiting services, you can find them squarely inside the top 30. Luke Fennell is a 4 or 3-star recruit, depending on the recruiting service that you use. And Aaron Womack is a consensus 3-star recruit. And on today's show, we are going to discuss the most important freshman for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season. And the results are in. There were nearly 600 votes on this week's Poll Friday. And in first place, it was very, very close. But Kiyan Anthony got the most votes at 46%. Sadiq White finished in second place at 44%. Luke Fennell was in third, and Aaron Womack was in fourth. And because the voting was so close, and maybe if there's 700 or 800 votes, it would be a little bit different. It's hard to say that I agree with you all or that I disagree with you all. So really, here's what I am going to say, which is that if you voted that Sadiq White is the most important freshman for Syracuse this upcoming season, I am on your side on this one. And here's why. It's his defense. We have discussed at length Syracuse basketball's roster, top to bottom, that there are not many good defenders on the team. Nobody really projects to be a good defender aside from maybe William Kyle, but he's questionable as far as his defense when you look at his analytics over on Evan Maya, right? And then you factor in the coaching staff and how under Adrian Autry in 2 years, Syracuse basketball has had a bottom 3 defense in the ACC in both of them. So there's not really great defensive personnel, and I'm not really giving them the benefit of the doubt with the coaching. So defense could be a major concern. But there's one player really that gives you hope on the defensive end of the floor, and that is Sadiq White. He will hopefully be the exception to Syracuse's personnel right now because he is known as one of the premier defenders in all of high school basketball. This is someone that can guard practically every position on the floor with a 7-foot wingspan, and when he's on the floor, he could easily be assigned the best player on the opposing team. That's what he might have to do. He might have to be that defensive stopper for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season. So that's why I believe the defense alone for Sadiq White makes him the most important freshman for Syracuse this upcoming season. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Maybe you were one of those people that voted for Kiyan Anthony, so I'd love to hear your reasoning in the comments section below. Why or why not Sadiq White is Syracuse's most important freshman this upcoming season. And coming up, we'll talk about the other freshmen for Syracuse. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel? Well, it's the perfect time to sign up, especially with the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals and the New York Knicks. Well, I know a lot of you all who watch or listen to this podcast are Knicks fans. Are they going to bounce back in game 2 versus Indiana? Hopefully, because if they lose game 2, the series is probably over. Well, if you want to bet it, head to FanDuel. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's talk about the other freshmen in Syracuse basketball's 2025 recruiting class. And let's start off discussing Kiyan Anthony. Kiyan Anthony is known as a scorer, and a really good one, in high school basketball. And of course, he is super important for Syracuse this upcoming season because he's someone that can hopefully lengthen out the lineup. If you get the production from Nate George and Donnie Freeman, JJ Starling, Nate Kings, the guys that you expect to produce, you probably still need a little bit more production in order to truly be a really, really effective offense. And one of those guys that's going to be tasked with adding depth scoring to this team, at least early on, is Kiyan Anthony. And maybe if he grows even more in development, I should say, then hey, maybe he becomes a player in the starting lineup and he gets infinitely more valuable for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season. But that being said, you look at Syracuse in general, scoring is one of their strengths, obviously. They're going to score. You got Donnie Freeman, you got JJ Starling, you got Nate George, and you have Nate Kings. Syracuse should still be a pretty functional offense, even if it takes time for Kiyan Anthony to be a Division I college basketball player, right? So that's why I don't necessarily think that Kiyan Anthony is more important than Sadiq White, because Kiyan Anthony provides more scoring to a team that I think can already score, whereas Sadiq White provides defense to a team where I'm not sure they can really defend this upcoming season. Then you got Luke Fennell and Aaron Womack. And the reason why I don't believe that either of these players are really that important for Syracuse this upcoming season is the depth that is in front of them. In other words, I really don't see them playing a whole lot this upcoming season. I'm not saying they're never going to play. They are going to play. I just don't think they're going to play a lot of minutes this upcoming season. They really do not project to see the floor a whole lot. Luke Fennell is either a point guard or a shooting guard, depending on the recruiting service. If we assume that he is a point guard, well, Syracuse has Nathan George from Georgia Tech, who is going to play probably anywhere between 34 and 36 minutes a game anyway. So yeah, Luke Fennell would be the backup point guard. And sure, I mean, knock on wood, hopefully nothing happens to Nathan George. Well, then Luke Fennell would be incredibly valuable if something did happen, right? But Nathan George is going to play a lot. So there's not a lot of playing time for Luke Fennell as a point guard. And then you look at the shooting guard spot, and there's already two guys that are ahead of him. You got JJ Starling and you got Kiyan Anthony. So how impactful, how important is Luke Fennell if he's not going to see the floor a whole lot? And it's the same deal with Aaron Womack. He's either a 2 or a 3. You look at the 2 we just mentioned. You got JJ Starling, you got Kiyan Anthony in front of him. So he's really not going to carve out much of a role there. And then you look at small forward, Nate Kings and Tyler Betsy are in front of Aaron Womack. So that's the story with Luke Fennell and Aaron Womack. They really can't be that important for Syracuse basketball because neither of them really project to see the floor a whole lot this upcoming season. They are certainly not on the level of Kiyan Anthony and Sadiq White. But if you agree or maybe you disagree, comment your thoughts in the comment section below. In fact, I'm forgetting who it was on Twitter, but someone actually responded to my poll on Twitter saying, I think Aaron Womack is the most important freshman. So if you feel that way, feel free to comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, as far as what is coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the future, tomorrow we'll talk about Syracuse football roster strengths. On Sunday, Syracuse football roster weaknesses. And then on either Monday or Tuesday of next week, we'll rank Syracuse basketball likely breakouts for the upcoming season. And thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. For your second listen, you can check out the Locked On Portal Show with football recruiting expert Brian Smith, who's got the latest rumors and signings each and every day. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. You can find the Portal Podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.